Hello, everyone. It is Jason and Andy with Infinity Flux Comics here to do our regular Tuesday spoiler free comic show. We have read all these fine books you see before you and many others, and we're going to tell you what's cool in them,
Mhm.
what's new in them, why you should possibly get it, but we're not going to spoil it for you.
We'll try not to.
We tread carefully. So the first thing we're going to talk about today, it's probably the most fun book of the week, but unfortunately, it's going to be really hard to get a hold of it.
hmm
Usually, we have this stuff also available for sale. But have you guys heard of this book, Solid Blood, number 17? Maybe you remember the last 16 of them? If
I
so,
don't
you're
work.
from a different universe.
Yes.
So this snuck in on the radar. It just appeared on comic shops' invoices. Robert Kirkman went on record saying that it just appeared at the printer. It's a book that him and Ryan Otley did, but they didn't really do. They had thought of these characters, and he claims it's from another universe, and we've read it. Unfortunately, this was not open order. They sent us very few copies, so
hmm
we do not have it available for sale. Clearly, each of us is holding on to one,
Yeah.
but there really aren't any. But this show isn't just about sales; it's also about telling you guys what's going on,
hmm
and you're going to hear about this. So, Andy, why don't you tell them a little bit about Solid
Yeah.
Blood?
I think this one's really interesting for a lot of reasons. Uh, so we heard a teaser about, or I forgot what the first news about Solid Blood was. We heard it the other day,
Yeah,
and it was so many speculation about what it was. Is it Saga coming back? A lot of people were thinking that
right.
because of a cover they had done for Saga. Um, People thought it would be something related to like, young blood,
Because of the name,
because of
obviously.
blood.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, but the thing that's interesting is it is a very Robert Kirkman thing to do. He's done things like this. Not exactly like this, but we had a book like Die 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 that came out in a very similar way. Now it
right.
didn't have the whole like idea of this is from another dimension and all of that. Um, but Kirkman tends to do these things. What's interesting is with Die 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 and some of those, how we got them. We most places got enough to
Yeah,
sell.
yeah, a lot of customers have it.
Yeah, this wasn't the case. So
No.
the question is why? Why Solid Blood? What does this serve? As of right now, there's no way of for us to order any more of them.
No, there isn't, and they sent us so shockingly few,
Yes.
and everybody wants it. So this is one we can go ahead and spoil to some degree because there's no comics before it, and there's no announcement of what comes after. So pretty much, it is definitely a superhero universe. The heroes have different powers than I've seen before.
hmm
One, for instance, is able to know how other characters, like the time of death and possibly
Yeah.
the way they're going to die. A very double-edged
Yeah.
sword.
Which is funny because if you read the whole thing, this character that has that power is the daughter of Michonne.
Yes,
Uh,
Michonne from Walking Dead is in this, and in the letters, when you read the letters column, Kirkman from the other universe, Kirkman says Walking Dead was canceled at issue 15, so he never got to have Michonne in it,
mhm.
and he had already designed the character, so he put her in Solid Blood. So I mean, they take this to the nth degree
Yeah,
that this is from another universe where things are different, where
yeah. Different books like Walking Dead didn't
yeah,
continue, but on the back is an ad for a book with him and Corey Walker called is it Kickstand? What is this book
Kick
called?
Fighter
Kick
or Kick
Fight.
Fight.
So yeah, here's and it's not an ad for issue 1, it's an ad for issue 9 coming in March.
So we wish we had a lot of these and we could sell these to you. They're really fun, and we hate to dangle something that well, oh, here it is, but you can't have it. But we do like to inform on this show, and you're going
Yeah.
to hear about it. So we thought we'd be two of the first people to tell you we've read it. It was a lot of fun. All the characters, there's several different aspects of the team, and they're all in different places, and they're all in different peril. That makes you immediately go, "How did you get here?
Yeah.
Like, why is this going
Why
on?"
is this person floating in space and why is this person, I mean, you come into it and like half the cast is dead, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
it's
okay.
very violent. It has invincible level
I would
violence to
say
it.
it's definitely more on the invincible, not just because Ryan Ollie did the art, but it's definitely more on the invincible side than your firepower or one of those newer
You know,
books from him.
the last thing I'll say about it is, as far as this mystery, because we've been talking about it all morning, is Donnie Cates. Does he have anything to do with this?
Yeah, a lot of people were talking. Is this somehow related to
Right.
crossover?
Yeah, because crossover is about heroes coming into our world,
Hmm.
and possibly it hasn't been revealed that these heroes might be from other universes that an Image comic shouldn't be drawing from.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I'll tell you in the credits for this, it always Image Comics always list who runs Image, like
Hmm.
vice president, things like that. Donnie Cates is listed as their vice president of marketing.
Hmm.
So that's really interesting and weird. You know, he definitely doesn't have that position now.
Yeah.
Could this be a little marketing ploy that has something to do with crossover? I don't know. The whole thing is maddening, but it's fun. Hopefully, so here's the good news. Typically, with Kirkman, when he does something like this, in a week or so, he usually makes it open order and lets us reorder more.
Hmm.
So even if you're like, oh, guys, you told me about this, this sounds good, I can't order it, hang in there. Hopefully, we'll be announcing maybe this Friday
Yeah.
on Comics from the Future, even that you can order it.
We'll keep you updated though. If we get any news about what is going on with this book, it'll be
Yeah,
our running like news update of Solid Blood.
absolutely. So let's get to this week's books that we have read and we can sell.
Yes. So I will start off with a book that we are all familiar with at this point. This is Dark Knight's Death Metal #6. This is the penultimate
I love any chance to
issue.
say penultimate.
Penultimate, such a great word. So what I will say about this issue, because of course we are getting very close to the end. We've got one issue left. There's a couple little issues in between before then, but essentially we are seeing what is going to be the finale of death metal, and you do see this in this issue. You kind of see like, here we go. This is like we're about to, which
Ramping
I feel
up.
like I said in the last one,
I know,
but
yeah, that's how number 5 kind of sounded too.
but this one I will say um, maybe gives you a hint to how future state comes about, or at least how the post future state universe exists.
That's what I'm itching to find out.
Yeah, and it is just the slightest hint, but there is a moment where, and it's not spoiling to say that Superman basically says, I remember everything.
Oh.
And because of an action that happens and everything. So I definitely think that is what it's nodding towards is how future state will come about, how whatever change happens in the multiverse to allow these things to exist. I think we will have a full idea. Of course, in the last issue, we know that's going to happen, but in this one, there is also a hint of what causes that.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next one, honestly. There's 2 epilogues in the last one, and they claim it's going to tie in with Future State, so I'm just on the edge of my seat waiting for that.
Yes. So this one also has some really cool variants. We have the David Finch Swamp Thing variant. We have, I love this one. This is the Art Germ Mr. Miracle cover. And I love Mr. Miracle in Death Metal Universe. He just gets spiky shoulder pads. And he's like, that's all I need to do to jazz up my outfit.
There's been a lot of good Mr. Miracle covers, because there's the deceased one that's coming out.
Yeah.
He's all...
I'm
all
glad
like
he's
that,
gotten the spotlight. I mean, this one everybody's going to be wanting. This is the Perio Bat Rex.
Yeah.
Great cover. And then lastly, we do have, because they've been doing these for all of them, this is the 1 in 25, where all the different characters are in a band, and apparently they let Robin King on.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising.
Yeah. So this is the 1 in 25, and we have a few of these for only $25. But if you've been getting all of the band members, why not throw in this crazy violinist?
Okay, so I am the resident King in Black expert. I like Donny Cates stuff a lot. I like all the King in Black stuff. So most of the things I'm going to talk about have to do with it or tie in. So I guess let's start off with Immortal Hulk King in Black. It is a one-shot issue that has just that is coming out tomorrow. So this one is less of a direct tie-in. The other ones, I was kind of shocked how much of a tie-in these other ones are. But this one tells a story. It is the night before Christmas, and Hulk, who for certain reasons has been very injured. He is a Hulk like you've never seen before. He is lanky. He is skinny. I had to show Andy some of the art. Some of the art is just laughable. The faces he makes and the way he looks. Basically, there's a present that a symbiote has stolen from someone, and he goes after the symbiote to try to get back this present, and of course gets in all kinds of trouble, and has to try to take them on. So this one, it doesn't seem like it's happening during King in Black. It seems like this is before King in Black, if anything. The other thing is, it is a completely silent issue. So I think it's like a...
Not unless you add your own sound effects.
I added a lot of laughing. So this one, like I said, it's less of a direct tie-in. It is a fully silent tale, so it's all just told in the art. So still pretty good read. Some Al Ewing likes to do weird with Hulk, and there is weird with Hulk in this.
I remember there was a time where he was that super skinny. We had that cover of him crawling out of the grave and everything. So,
yep,
maybe it takes place around that time period.
Maybe, and there is this variant. I think this is the spoiler variant. All it spoils is that he goes up against symbiotes, and I mean it's King in Black tie-in. Let's hope there's some symbiotes in it at all. All right, so there's that.
Cool. Well, let me get some of these next ones ready. The next one I'll talk about is Batman issue 105. So what's significant about this issue is this is the last issue of Batman before we do have an annual coming out, and then we have the Future State book. So this is the last regular numbered issue of Batman until March. So we got a good long ways till then.
Until after the next Batman gets to...
Till he gets his day in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So this one's really interesting. I actually read this a few weeks ago when we got a preview of it, but I've been thinking about it ever since because this definitely leaves you in a very cool, interesting place. So we do know that James Tynion is coming back. He's still the writer of Batman in March when it comes back. So he does get to leave stuff hanging. You know, he set up these great characters like Ghostmaker and Clown Hunter.
Yeah.
And so that gets resolved, but in a resolved way, it's like, I really want to see what comes next. Because he's done such a good job setting up this world that he's definitely continuing this world. It's not like we're going to come back and it's going to be square one, Batman has all of his money back, everything. It's like, no, like, this definitely leaves you in a place of, we are getting ready for the next big chapter in Batman's life. He even has a thing he says in it where he tells someone, hey, I'm getting older and this city is getting younger, and I'm going to need some help. And I think that's really interesting. This is a lot of growth for Batman. And this, so yes, I wouldn't say this is the greatest jumping on point issue, but it is a great cap to, I feel like, the first season or whatever you'd call it of James Tynion's run on Batman. So it's a great issue. You get a lot of story with some of the new characters, and maybe we're going to be seeing them next. Also, we have the Matina variant. It's a little hard to see. It's a pretty dark one. But Batman looming over the city. Yep, that is Batman 105.
Okay, so let's get back to more King in Black. So also out this week is Symbiote Spider-Man #2. I don't know how many of you read #1. #1, while there's definitely symbiote stuff going on in it, there wasn't a whole lot of Null.
Mm-hmm.
This one uh, sort of changes that a bit. I'm not saying that Null is necessarily right in there or a big part of it. There are some surprises in this one that relate. I have to be careful with my words because I don't want to give away anything. So Black Knight is in this, and it's sort of like, what's he doing there?
Yeah.
Well, you end up following him and finding out what he's doing there, and many of you might know that he carries a sword called the Ebony Blade. Well, who else has a sword? And when do swords come up a lot with Null? So let's just say something happens with the Ebony Blade that I thought was pretty surprising,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of wonder if it isn't in some way related to the Necro Sword. I'm not saying that that's revealed, but it's kind of cool what happens in it. So meanwhile, while the Black Knight's doing his thing, you got symbiote Spider-Man. He's fighting this other shadowy symbiote figure. Ugh,
Shadowy symbiote figure.
yeah. So that's going on as well. So this one's a much more of a direct tie. And even though once again it's told in the past, you get the sense that Null is powerful enough that when he attacks Earth, he's not just attacking our time. He may be altering things in the past.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the I thought the first issue was really interesting because it was, you kind of go like, how is this a King in Black tie-in when this takes place in the past? It takes place when Peter Parker has the symbiote suit before the invention of Venom.
Right.
Um, and in that you go, oh, maybe his reach is also through time as well. And I think that is super, super interesting. And we also know that Black Knight is getting his own tie-in series to King in Black. So
and that doesn't surprise me based on what I read in this.
yeah, I definitely think this is like a seed book. It's laying the seeds, and then you're gonna see this stuff flourish.
One of the things with Null is whenever you have these villains that are powerful, you have to say, well, what makes them powerful?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be powerful because oh, you just can't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of characters that are nigh invincible, to use tick terminology. But it's sort of like, what are the limitations? And we're learning through these that Null does. He can do certain things through time. One thing is, and you've seen this in other books, but they kind of start clarifying a little more. How can you hurt him? Mm-hmm. He is very difficult to hurt, and I'll just leave it. I'll leave it there. Here is the variant, the Shalvey variant. Also, open order and available.
All right. Awesome. So I will talk about. This is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this is another one of our standalone Dark Multiverse books, and this one takes place. It says Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it actually takes place a little bit afterwards. We even see on the first page the death of Supergirl, the famous scene of Superman holding Supergirl.
Right.
So this does take place a little bit after that. And if you know about the Dark Multiverse books, they are almost a corrupted version of the original story, and the through line is this. I forgot what his name is. He's the big space entity that is kind of checking all these worlds to see, like, is this worth saving? Is this a good Earth? Is there any redeeming qualities to this? So he's checking in on all these worlds. And this one is really cool because it actually takes place during a story I'd never read, but I believe it's the last days of the Justice Society, which takes place right after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And it's basically when Ragnarok comes to the DC universe, the end of all things in Norse mythology, and Surtur, who you may know from like the Thor movies and stuff, well, there's a DC version of him too, and he basically just destroys the Justice League. And you see how the Justice Society tries their best to rise up and stop him. And in the end, some big sacrifices are made, and there is a new version of a character because of kind of a sacrifice they had to make. So it's really cool if you've liked reading these one-shots. I like that they always kind of give you a twist that introduces maybe a new character, a new version of a character.
Right.
And the last page on this one definitely has a character that could pop up in Death Metal 3 or something as a big villain. But really cool, really fun, oversized issue. Let's see, and I believe it is $5.99. So if you're a fan of Justice Society or just all these dark versions of the multiverse, this is a good read. I
Yeah,
really liked
I
it.
read the Flashpoint one last week, and that was awesome. They're actually coming out with a hardcover edition of all of them.
Yeah, I
They
think
just
that'd be
put
really
a little
cool.
bit of that on order. So
Yeah, and the next issue in this kind of one-shot series is Metal. So it's the
if
bad version
metal
of
had
the
gone
original Metal. I think
wow.
that'll be really cool.
Okay, so my last King in Black tie-in book I'm going to talk about today is Black Cat #1. I know it hasn't been that long since they launched her other series. They just ended that lately and gave her a new #1. This is a really interesting #1. This was my favorite Marvel read of the week. So for one thing, it is very much a King in Black tie-in, meaning, it sort of begins and she's on a job with her people. And guess what? Null and his people show up like at the beginning of King in Black, and she gets in the middle of it, because Earth's being attacked. So, I mean, this literally takes place right in the middle of King in Black #1. Captain America's in this book. She has some cool interactions with Captain America. She gets to see what happens to Doctor Strange. So, a lot of cool action. A lot of it's really neat because she's always been around Spider-Man, but she's not that big into Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to find out her feelings on Eddie Brock and on Venom and on all the symbiotes. That's all very amusing, but it's like as much as she wants to keep all that at bay and out of her, high society criminal world, um, the Earth is under attack. So in her own way, she basically decides this Null character, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. And under the direction of Captain America, she is given a very cool mission that I can't wait to see how it plays out. So she's putting together a crew to do something to Null, and that is sort of the plot line. So I thought it was a very cool #1, super direct tie-in, and just written really well. So let's see.
We do need to mention that this is not the A cover. We are actually
Oh,
completely
that's
sold
right.
out of the A cover.
Yep.
But we do have some of the variants. So that's what you're seeing here is one of the variants, and we're going to show you some of the others.
That is the Via variant. This is the Knock headshot variant. And then we have, let's say it all together, Scotty Young. And we have the 1 in 25 Pacelli variant for $20. We only have one of these available. And this is an ongoing series. It's rare that you see a series that is ongoing begin in the middle of a big sort of world-encompassing story. I'm going to continue though because this leads into the nullified variants. So this is Black Cat, the nullified variant. Also this week there is the Iron Man nullified variant.
I like how the symbiote managed to affect his armor
His
too.
armor, I know, yeah. It's pretty cool looking. Here's the Fantastic Four nullified variant. And lastly, this one is really cool but kind of sad to look at, the Captain America variant. That's a really good one. So I think that's all the King in Black for this week.
Well, so the ones I talked about before are ones I really got to read in depth. But I'm going to mention one that I just got to skim, but I definitely intend on reading it. So we have Wolverine Black, White, and Blood #2. So this is the kind of anthology series where it's all black and white with highlight colors of red, done by some really big names in the industry. So we have I believe a Greg Land story where he does the art. Like I did with the last one, I'll show you just a little bit because it's really cool. The first one's Greg Land. So we have some awesome art like see if you can see this. Wolverine fighting Sabretooth. You get some of those big full action pages. If you're a fan of, especially art and comics, but Wolverine, you know, kind of one-shot stories, this is a really good read. I believe it's, I can't remember if it's 5 or 8 issues, so it's just a mini series that they're doing. But the next issue is going to have a Donny Cates story in it, which I think is going to be really cool. Who knows? He'll get infected by a symbiote or something. He can't keep it out of his books.
And then I'll be reviewing it.
But the other really interesting thing is this one had a secret variant, which is the it's Wolverine with his mask off.
Yeah, the unmasked
So
variant.
we're selling this one for $15, but you can see the difference there.
Marvel's been having a lot of fun over the last year with these secret variants. That
Yeah.
just sneak in here and there.
It spoils the secret. Wolverine's actually Logan.
Running a comic shop is exciting. It's like we get Solid Blood 17 from
Yeah.
another universe. We get Marvel secret variants. And
We just got to figure it out as we go.
yeah, yeah.
And then we have the 1 in 25 Bastos variant for $25.
All right, so I got some indie stuff I want to talk about. First and foremost, from Image is a new hardcover book by the awesome team of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This is called Reckless, and this thing, it is big.
I want to say that's their thickest so far. That's bigger than some of the ones they did. All my friends are junkies and all that.
Yep. So I hardly even have to sell this one. I mean, people, if you've read Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, you know they do some of the greatest crime comics, some of the greatest crime fiction out there, comics or book-wise. They're just incredible. So this book is $24.99. It is the beginning of a new series. They're going to do more on this character. His name is Ethan Reckless. That is his name. I don't know if it's a nickname. But this is set in the 80s in LA. He is a sort of, he's a bouncer and sort of like a bounty hunter all rolled into one. And of course, he's got a very sordid past. He used to run with a group of people who were trying to help the world back in the 60s, you know, sort of hippie people. And one of his old colleagues resurfaces needing help, but that person is now a fugitive. And so he has to decide, okay, well, am I going to drop my life, which has been going well finally, to try to help this person?
He probably does, or the book would have been a lot shorter.
Yeah, so here's the cool thing. We were only able to get so many copies of this like that, but it comes with a book plate that they have signed. That's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' signatures right there. So what happens is, to get these out on time, they sign these little things called book plates. They're kind of just cool stickers. That was what was on the inside. So the first 20 of these that we sell, you'll get this, and then you can put it anywhere you want. So $24.99 for a beautiful hardcover by two awesome people, and you get it signed. You heard it here first.
It's a great deal too. If a lot of other publishers did a book that big, that would easily be, you know, $34.99,
Absolutely.
$37.99, something like that.
It feels like it could be a $39.99 book,
Yeah.
especially signed.
So I wanted to just run through a couple of variants that we got in that are noteworthy. They're pretty cool. So first we have, we only find them when they're dead. This is the 1 in 10. It's a really cool variant that kind of does a different art style for the book.
What do we price that one at?
And this one is only $12.
Okay.
And then another really cool one. This is Darth Vader #8, the design variant. It's a 1 in 10 with the new assassin character, the design for the assassin's character. And this is $25.
All right, I have another new series from Image called Post Americana. It is a new Image series. I believe it is ongoing. So this is set several decades after a nuclear holocaust, and there's this safe haven called the Bubble that was set up for like politicians,
Mhm.
important people to go to. Well, they didn't make it in there. Only the rich people made it in there. So they've been down there. I can't remember how many decades it's been. I think it's like 40 to 60 years. And the Earth's surface, people are still on it, but it's gotten rough up there.
Mhm.
Well, they're coming back up, and they've decided, because they're not just down there with food, they have weapons, they have all kinds of good stuff. They're coming up to take over the world.
Mm.
And the guy who's leading them, he's not really saying it in an evil way. It's more like, oh, the people up there, they're probably all mutants and stuff. They're gonna need us. We better lead them. Not everyone agrees with them. Some people don't. So meanwhile, you get the surface people. You get to see what's going on there. It's very Mad Max. The art
Yeah.
is very, it's very clear, but the art has that like roughness, that
Mhm.
like kind of grittiness to it. Very dark humored. If you like sort of dark The Boys, Preacher humor, it's all in there. I mean, people getting killed by radiated chickens,
Mhm.
uh, fights where people have their eye hanging out of their head,
Mhm.
and it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of gross. It's pretty wild. There is a girl on the surface, though, and you can kind of see her there, who becomes sort of important by the end of the first issue. So if you like post-apocalyptic stuff and you want it to be a little darker, a little more Mad Max meets The Boys, I think this one
It's
would be good for
dark, but
you.
I don't necessarily think depressing dark.
Yeah.
It actually has a really good sense of humor, especially when you do see the chicken part, and just kind of like what people are doing on the surface is very disturbing, but just kind of funny. All the what people
Yeah.
are getting into.
Okay, so we also have some variants. Here is the B cover variant. And yep, there's that chicken we've been talking about.
It's the highlight of the book is that chicken.
And here is the B variant. This kind of shows off, in my opinion, the violence and the humor. It's not just done to gross you out. This isn't like a Walking Dead, Negan warning or anything. This is, it's like over the top
Mm-hmm.
to make you laugh a little if
Yeah.
you're of that disposition. And then there is a blank cover. Get your favorite artist or writer to sign it, draw on it. I have two more little things I wanted to show off. So this is Iron Man #4, the Stormbreakers variant by Peach Momoko. We only have one of these, and it is $25. It's a very cool cover. Iron Man's been hanging out a lot um, with Hellcat, and so that's why that makes sense. Otherwise you'd look at it and be like, "Is Hellcat out of a comic?" But she's been in all
Yeah,
the
she's been in
issues.
it as
Yeah.
much as Iron Man's been in
Mhm.
it.
And then lastly, Miskatonic #2 is coming out tomorrow from Aftershock. #1 was a big hit around here. A lot of people picking it up. This is the 1 in 10. We are selling it for $15. All right. Wow.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of Kings and Blacks and
Have you shown off the Vader one?
yes.
Okay. I was getting my stuff ready. I missed it. Yeah, that design variant's really good.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. So, okay, well, that is our show for this week. We got the comics in, we bagged and boarded them, we spent time talking about them, and we read them. And now you guys know about them. So,
Real quick, also forgot to mention, Batgirl #50 was a really big deal.
right.
They did a second printing with a variant cover for Batgirl 50 with Riley Rossmo's art on it, who's going to be doing Harley Quinn come March. So just wanted to mention that.
All right, well, thank you all for watching this video. Whether you watch us live on Facebook or later on YouTube, we do appreciate it. We'll be back on Friday doing our Comics from the Future video, where we go over comics long before they come out, when they're all open order. We talked about pretty much each and every one of these things about 3 weeks ago. It's a show I highly suggest you watch, because you have much more chance of getting everything if you order it then than if we're telling you about it now and we only have 2 issues left or something.
Unless they do a Solid Blood on us again.
Yeah, that
None
one.
of us know about it.
Yeah, so. Okay, well, that is us. That is our show. Signing out. Have a great rest of your day.